time for the Word on Wall Street. Top investors watching your money. Joining me now is Payne Capital Management President and the host of Payne Points of Wealth podcast, Ryan Payne, with us. Also with us this morning is Adam Johnson and Scott Martin. Great to see you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah, I want to get your take on the Fed, on markets. The Fed's final rate meeting of the year today, concluding at about 2 o'clock. We will get the news from Jay Powell at 2 o'clock. If, in fact, the futures market is right, pricing in a 95% chance that the Fed cuts rates by 25 basis points. The Wall Street Journal editorial board suggesting President-elect Trump should also remove Michael Barr as the Fed vice chair of supervision, highlighting his repeated failures to oversee the banking industry, Ryan. So we got regulation becoming deregulation when Trump comes in.
Yes.
And you've got the Fed cutting rates, and lots of people saying, why are you cutting rates now going into a new year when we think growth is going to be a priority?
It's completely wild to me. And, I like to be the contrarian, but at 95% odds, I think it looks like the Fed is going to cut rates here.
Yeah.
And, the great irony here is since the Fed's been cutting interest rates, the 10-year Treasury has been going higher, not lower. Which says to me what the market's pricing in is that is going to heat up financial conditions. And the biggest fear here is inflation is going to get reignited. And inflation's been stubborn here. Remember the Fed said they're going to wait for inflation to get to 2% before they're going to start cutting rates? Well, they never got there, right? We're at 2.7% on that core PCE. It's been there for like 6 months, or I think it's 2.8%. And all these pro-growth policies, which I like. As a small business owner, love the fact we're talking about deregulation. We're talking about lower taxes. That's going to spur more growth, which spurs more inflation, which says, Fed, cool off here for a minute. Let's see what happens. Let's reassess before we start cutting interest rates any further. But Jay Powell just doesn't seem to get that memo, and I'm not sure why.
So what does that mean for stock performance in 25? Are they going to sell on the news, buy on the rumor, sell on the news, right?
Oh, no, the animal spirits are out. I think it's going to spur a melt-up, which I think we might already be in the midst of this melt-up. I've been envisioning this for a long time.
Yeah.
And, what happens after a melt-up is you get a meltdown. And I'm seeing this already. You're starting to see the risk parameters come off, where investors, instead of worrying about risk management, they're worrying about how's my return, versus the S&P 500. As Warren Buffett once said, you want to be fearful when others are greedy. It's starting to seep in, but these things get wilder, typically, in my experience. So I think right now you're not going to see this correction people are talking about. Market's probably just going to go higher. The Fed is just going to spur it on. They may look foolish later, but right now.
Until they hike rates.
It could be a dangerous thing to get in front of this trade. Isn't that right, Scott?
I think so, Maria. But if the Fed screws it up again, let's say, and they do have to start hiking rates, then you've got the market that's, again, saying, hey, the Fed's off sides. They're jumping back and jumping forward. It's like that's the risk here to me, is that interest rates, like you said, Ryan, have moved up since the Fed has cut. So that just tells you that I think the bond market is telling the Fed you guys are doing it wrong.
I want to get your take on something else, because this is incredible to me. Scott, President Biden is endorsing a ban. This is rich. This is really rich. He's endorsing a ban on congressional stock trading, an issue that has long been debated on Capitol Hill. Joe Biden says nobody in Congress should be able to make money in the stock market while they're in Congress.
Even him?
I don't know how you look your constituents in the eye and know, because the job they gave you an inside track to make more money. Lawmakers are required to disclose stock transactions exceeding $1,000. 85 members of Congress traded on the stock in the stock market last year, according to the stock trading tracker Quiver Quantitative. Democrat Congressman Josh Gottheimer and Congresswoman and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, among the most active congressional traders last year, racked in a combined estimated trade volume of $81.2 million.
Wow.
And, she's really been a phenomenal investor. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
She's really good.
She's so good.
I mean, she knew to buy Microsoft just like a couple of months before it got this incredible defense contract.
We need a Pelosi mutual fund.
She was really good. She knew to buy stocks right before a big deal happened that they announced in Congress.
She does her research.
She's really smart.
She does her research. She looks at her charts, consults friends and obviously other folks in Congress, which is funny because
it says, how are you going to vote?
How are you going to vote? And what you going to do? And who are you going to give the torch to? And I tell you what, Maria, the Stock Act of 2016 2012 actually, had really little effect on what we're seeing with Congress and what they do with regards to their stock portfolios. There's so many folks in Congress, both sides of the aisle, by the way, who've done this kind of activity and behavior. So there needs to be a lot more involved in what we're going to do to these folks as far as what they do, as far as their investments, because they're making a lot of money off of the backs of what they're passing in Congress.
Well, it's also really rich given what we know about Joe Biden, and the fact that, well, I guess it's okay for his son to get a board seat on Burisma back in 2014 and get paid millions of dollars over the years being on the board of Burisma. And it's okay for Joe Biden to attack the officials trying to investigate Burisma and say, I'm going to take you out unless you stop this investigation.
And make money off his investments when he was in the Senate.
I mean, it's really rich for Joe Biden to say.
So he's done his job. He's made his money.
Stocks.
Yeah, so he's made his money so he can sail.
I guess it's because he wasn't taking money from public companies.
There you go.
Only private companies. So it was okay that he.
It was like the circular thing.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden makes the money being on the board. Joe Biden goes in there and attacks the officials who are investigating Burisma.
Right.
Hunter Biden gets paid, and then Hunter Biden pays the bills for the family.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what James Comer told us at the Oversight Committee.
How many because you shed a very bright light on this, Maria, how many suspicious money laundering notifications did U.S. banks send to the FBI on behalf of the Bidens? Was it like 90, 92?
Yeah.
It goes to 100.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Suspicious activity. 92 times.
So was the plan not that thought out well then? How about that? I mean, the plan that they had set forth maybe wasn't that good of a plan
I've got the letter to Joe Biden from the House Oversight Committee, and this letter was sent back in March of 2024. I'll read you the first line. During the 118th Congress, the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability has been investigating influence peddling conducted by you and your family. The committee has accounted for over $24 million that has flowed from foreign sources to you, your family, and their business associates. The committee has identified no legitimate services to merit such lucrative payments. You've repeatedly denied playing any role in your family business activity, but the committee has amassed evidence, including bank records and witness testimony, that wholly contradicts your position on these matters, writes James Comer of the Oversight Committee. And here you have Joe Biden telling Congress not to trade stocks.
Wow, rich.
Adam, Nvidia, let's talk about that for a second. Rebounding this morning after entering correction territory this week.
Yes.
What happened to this stock? Investors going a little cautious about AI spending, fueling Nvidia's rally. And is that slowing things down? You still own the stock, right?
I sure do. There have been 3 times so far this year when Nvidia has actually gone down more than 20%. July, September, and actually in August, it went down 30%. It's a volatile name. And so right now it's sort of teetering on, correction territory, right down, 10, 15%, whatever it is. It's noise. These are volatile names. They go up and down. I'm not changing my view on Nvidia. And if you ask me whether it's expensive, I would say no. It's no more expensive than Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon.
But this is one of those
and
names
growing faster.
That I think you were talking about, and you were talking about as sort of things sort of suggesting maybe we see a pullback in January.
Yeah, we just got it. And again, it's the 4th time the stock has pulled back and then went on to new highs.
And the haters come in and push it down more, and then everybody gets out. The weak hands get out, and then that's when the strong hands come in and take it to new highs.
So we just got the sell-off, but if you blinked, you missed it.
You missed it.
I think that's a fair point. Yeah, until Adam starts wearing less handsome suits, we know it's going higher.
Great conversation. Ryan Payne, thank you so much for joining the conversation.